Hello and welcome back to the Battle Room. I'm the Battle Room, and today I have a little bit of a different video. So I'm alone. No Hey Raghav here, he's gone. So today he's in actually San Antonio because this weekend was the San Antonio Regional Championships, and I wanted to talk about the teams, look at them, see what we think going forward into this meta, because now we have our first American tournament. Obviously, the first European tournament was pretty interesting of himself, but it did have a team that won that we've already seen before. It was pretty uninspiring. So a lot of the standard teams, as is the European fare, a lot of the really strong teams, they like the strong teams, but Americans, we're freaks. We've got weird fucking shit everywhere, right? We got weird teams. So I wanted to break this down, talk about the teams, and look at what won. So I have right here the top 20, it's like 18 players or something, I don't know. There was like a small cut, right? It was like a little bit over 16. So yeah, let's check out these teams. Let's see what we're cooking with here. So David's team is pretty interesting. We've got ourselves a pretty normal looking Zamazenta team here. Nothing too crazy. I'll link Victory Road as well. They have all the teams on there. That's where I got all these pastes. I don't have any EVs, but we've got the open sheets, so we can learn something from them. But yeah, this is like a kind of standard Qianpao Raging Bolt team, like with these first four, or these four right here: Qianpao, Raging Bolt, Among Us, Zam. But then we have this rain mode on there, which I think is pretty cool. Helping Hand, Choice Scarf. Otherwise, everything else is pretty standard from what I can tell. But it's kind of an interesting take on Qianpao. Obviously, we can see why it did well. It's got a kind of a completely different mode that you have to deal with. David's team is pretty cool. Okay, Nicholas Donnelly. I'm going to talk about this team much more later. It did place a little bit higher. But Nick Donnelly, obviously an amazing player. Probably most well known for his set against Wolf, playing at the Charlotte Regionals last year, only losing to Wolf Glick 3 times. They played each other all 3 times. They played in finals and Wolf won. But Nick Donnelly, obviously a very good player, used a really good team, which we'll talk about later. No spoilers. Next up, we got Shane, friend of the channel, a battle roommate, if you will. But yeah, this is the standard Kyogre team. Nothing too crazy here. Yeah, nothing. It's the drum beating set. I think this team is really fucking good. I think it's amazing. It lets a good player be a good player. You have double fake out guys. You have Urshifu, so you got fake out plus Urshifu cycling. You got rain, right? And then you have a tailwind mode, and you have the best Rage Powder Spore bot in the game. So this team is just good, and it lets a good player be good. So yeah, nothing too crazy there. Obviously, you guys have probably seen that team. That did get second in Europe. I think it's a very important team that you need to be able to beat. I think this is the only one, though. I think that, yeah, that's the highest placing standard Roaring Moon Kyogre. So that's pretty interesting of it itself, that team was actually, like, it obviously did really well in Europe, but then it was countered really heavily going into this North American regional here. And then next up we have kind of a crazy team here. Yeah, the Pelipper's a little weird, but otherwise, like, Chi-Yu, Flutter, or Shifu, Calyrex, Among Us, this core is godlike. It's so good. It did really well at Worlds. I wouldn't say it's like super godlike anymore. It's not like super duper broken. It's just good. But I do think it's fallen off a little bit, but obviously still very strong. You got the Covert Cloak Chi-Yu paired with the Flutter Mane. You can deal big damage with these two as a combo. But then you also have this Calyrex Ice that just is like, just tanky as fuck. And if these guys whittle everything down, this guy comes in, maybe sets Trick Room, maybe doesn't. And you just start picking up KOs, getting your as one boosts with Glastrier ability, whatever. You just start going crazy. And yeah, it makes sense. The Pelipper is the weird addition. I believe Raging Bolt was usually the Pokemon here. At Worlds, I believe Raging Bolt was the one. But yeah, otherwise, nothing too crazy here. I think Pelipper's cool. It gets Wide Guard. I think Pelipper actually, I mean, we saw it already like twice, right? Yeah, Pelipper's showing that it's still good. Then we've got ourselves a Rain team. But now, this Rain team's a little different because we've got Tornadus Kyogre, the classic combo. And one that I would say is not super duper popular in this regulation. I really don't know how much success it's truly had. Life Orb Urshifu was really cool. I'm not gonna lie, I think Life Orb Urshifu is sick. I know it's crazy, right, to run an item that isn't Sash or Scarf, but yes, Life Orb is cool. It does a lot of damage, and I think it messes with people's calcs, right? A lot of people will try to survive Surging Strikes from a Scarf or Shifu. They'll try to survive, like a Sash or Shifu as well. Like an Adamant Surging Strikes, that's about as hard as you're gonna get hit normally. But You have Rain, so you can get to that like Terra Water levels. And then you have Life Orb, so you get to break people's calcs with this Life Orb. I think it's super sick. And you also have Rain Dance too. It just lets your Shifu be like especially obnoxious and really annoying. So I really like this combo of like Tornadus or Shifu. I know, crazy. I'm saying revolutionary shit on this episode. But yes, Tornadus or Shifu is good. And also, it is sick with Life Orb. I just think it's kind of a cool addition. Also, this is just like a Water Spout Kyogre. I don't think we've really seen much of this. Obviously, there was the Justin Tang and Shilang Tang ran a Water Spout Kyogre, but with Assault Vest, paired with Wo-Chien, which was pretty cool at Nationals this year. But nothing like just a classic ode to the original Tailwind Water Spout. We've got it right here. And then we got this Life Orb Shifu to pair well with Kyogre. Chien Pao too. So you could have, hear me out, this is like Exodia level shit, right? You lead this guy, you set up Tailwind. Or you lead like these two, right? You set up Tailwind. You press Water Spout for a turn, right? And then one of these idiots dies because they're frail as shit. And then you bring in her Shifu. And then you switch in your Chien Pao and nothing is going to live. A Tailwind, Speed, or Shifu. Surging Strikes, in the rain, Life Orb, Chien Pao. It just breaks the fucking calc, right? So pretty sick combo. You have this to stop fake outs. I've actually used a team similar to this at the beginning of the format, and I think Serena is pretty cool with Kyogre. It stops those annoying fake outs. It shuts down Rillaboom. Triple Axle's really good into Rillaboom. Taunt's really good into Calyrex Ice because you stop fake outs and you stop, you go around Amoonguss. So like they would have to have like Ogerpon Rock or Ogerpon with Calyrex to be able to beat this, or to be able to deal with Serena here. And then you just have Rillaboom. Nothing too crazy. I think this team's pretty sick though. Very different style of team of Kyogre. So yeah. Connor's team here. We've got the Dozo. We got Dozo, Weezing. So for those who do not know, the way this works is like Weezing. You lead Weezing plus Calyrex, right? And this is really, really aggressive Calyrex. Because most of the time, Calyrex Shadow's weaknesses come from speed control. They come from abilities. They come from, you know, like a Pro Synthesis Flutter Mane is good into Calyrex. And so, like, Calyrex just being able, with next to Weezing, no abilities are proccing, it almost always gets to hit you, right? And we've got Terra Normal Hyper Beam. This does insane damage. You usually lead these two. And then you can set up Poison Gas to poison both the Pokemon, or Poison Spikes to poison the guys in back, right? You see where this is going. And then these two idiots die, and then you're like, oh no, what am I gonna do? Dondozo time. And then this guy has Order Up with the defense boost, so that you're able to get a really bulky. It just bodies the fuck out of physical restricteds, most notably Ice Rider. And yeah, you're chilling. This team is just really, really oppressive when you don't know what you're doing into it. And even when you do, obviously Connor here, again, this was my first ever sub on Twitch. Shout outs to Connor. Connor pops off with this team, does really well, and yeah, and then obviously Sash Tatsugiri, so you can stall for Moid Poison. It is very much built around poison stalling, which is very weird in BGC. And then this guy is just like good into like Koraidon and stuff. He's just annoying, obviously paired with the Weezing. Also, you can I've played against the team a ton. What you can do is you lead like Weezing Iron Hands, and you just like fake out Poison Gas or fake out Toxic Spikes, and you're like, fuck yeah, now you're poisoned for sure, right? And then you don't even bring your restricted, you don't care. I don't really know what this guy's for. I'm not really like that deep into the team, but I'm sure he's good into enemy Shadow Rider, especially because like, you know, it's kind of, the mirror's kind of weird, a little bit weird, because if they just win the speed tie and kill you, you're kind of fucked. So he's definitely for the Shadow Rider mirror. I figured it out. I've got a brain. But yeah, this team's just really obnoxious, and it's really good into the restricted. It's good into. Very good into Zamazenta, usually. Like, pretty good. The Amoonguss change on these Zamazenta teams does help with this. And then, also really, really good into, Ice Rider, specifically. Very, very good. But yeah, congrats to Connor, doing well. Now we got our first Turtle team here. So this looks like, so we're Leftovers, Calm Mind, Substitute. That's kind of the norm for the Turtle guys. Nothing too crazy here. We've got Urshifu. We've got, oh, I think this is actually Pokealex's team. Yeah, this is Pokealex's team. So Pokealex got top 4 at the last tournament with this. This is a pretty standard-ish version of Turtle. Nothing too crazy here. The Raging Bolt is usually a Rillaboom nowadays, but obviously still did really well. Raging Bolt does similar to what Rillaboom does. It helps with Urshifu, right? Bulky Mystic Water, probably. We've got this annoying-ass motherfucker to help you set up Terapagos. And then Terapagos. This team is just all about helping Terapagos sweep. You got Fake Out. You've got Amoonguss. You've got this Flutter Mane. Helps Terapagos sweep. A very good team. Oh, one thing I will say about Raging Bolt, it's better in a Zamazenta. That's the big one. Is Zam is a little bit better when you have Raging Bolt instead of Rillaboom. But yeah, good team. And then next up we've got Regidrago. Oh shit. So we got Regidrago Zacian. I actually think this combo is pretty fucking good. So the way it kind of works is it's pretty simple. Zacian does a lot of damage, and so does Regidrago. But specifically, if things turn into a fairy type to deal with Regidrago, you got Zacian to deal with them, right? And then this Zacian is so... I hate this guy. Every time I play this guy on ladder, like this, not this guy, not our not specifically Jackson, but when I play against this Zacian moveset, it's really fucking annoying because ground coverage with Fairy Steel is brutal. Like, nothing wants to take that. You usually have to defuse this guy somehow with speed control, but obviously they have Tornadus, so they can set up Train, and they have Rain, so like stuff like Koraidon's not even gonna work, or Groudon. You gotta deal with this guy. But then if you're using like Miraidon, he's blasting you with Terra Blast. That's never fun. It still does so much damage to you, even when you Terra Fairy on the Miraidon. And then if you Terra Fairy next turn, he can kill your ass with... This is Behemoth Blade in game, but you have to put Iron Head on Showdown. You can kill him with Iron Head, and it does insane damage. This guy's such a menace. And then obviously you still have to deal with this motherfucker, who's blasting you with Dragon Energies, and it has fucking Life Orb, so it can like one-shot Calyrex, which is absurd. And then you also have to deal with the Rain Dance Tornadus guy, who's powering up this guy, right? Because he's getting rid of one of the weaknesses. And he's also making this guy even stronger with a Choice Band or Shifu. It's just kind of an annoying... it's just really, really offensive and really aggressive. And then also now you've got this guy to help you protect from fake outs, because that is kind of the one issue of Regidrago Zacian. They don't love fake out, but you have a draft for that. And this guy just adds Follow Me. He's just a good fucking Pokemon. Jackson's team pretty sick. I think it's annoying to play against. I hate that team. But a good team. And congrats to Jackson for the run. So these are all still, we're still in top 16, by the way. Next up here, we've got Diego's team. So this is just like, yeah, this is bread and butter boring Zam. This is like the textbook Zam, right? So you've got this bulky flutter. Okay, it doesn't have Icy Wind, which is a little weird. It does have Thunder Wave over Icy Wind, but either way, usually it's fine. It's speed control, right? And then you have Scarf Chi Yu. You've got the Sash guy with double dark moves because you have the same as Zenta. This guy does a ton of damage, protects his friends with Wide Guard. And then you have this guy who just does damage and is annoying for Amoonguss, right? I like the safety goggles. I do like the safety goggles change. That's pretty nice. But yeah, nothing too crazy there. That's a pretty boring team, but obviously if you pilot it well, it's really good. Pengy's team here is the team we literally talked about. I think they probably work together. It's the exact same. All Terras are the same, I think. Yeah, it looks the same. I talked about that one already. I think it's a really cool team. Kind of a different take on Kyogre currently. Dominic's team here, we've got ourselves... I mean, so like... This team is very similar to the team that did really well at Worlds. Hirofumi's team, but usually there's a Flutter Mane here, and instead they have a Rillaboom, which is kind of cool. So we got Rillaboom, Assaultus Rillaboom, nothing crazy. Booster Energy, Raging Bolt. Obviously, Raging Bolt plus Calyrex is a classic combo. Ice, Electric, the Bolt Beam coverage, amazing shit. This guy also just gets to move first because Thunderclap's broken. We got Scarf Chi, which is a little different. And then we have this Horn Leech or Ogerpon Cornerstone. So we've got Fake Out to set up Trick Room. And we got Follow Me to set up Trick Room, and then we have a Broken Urshifu. It doesn't have like a super high ceiling. I guess they have the Chi-Yu. That's the fastest Pokemon on their team. But yeah, so this is like kind of similar to the teams, but just slightly different. The Rillaboom does add another element to this. It does give you terrain control. It powers up this guy too, and it gives you Fake Out. So like, I like the change. I think it's pretty cool. Oh shit, I messed it up. Don't look at that. Next up, we got top 8. So these are the best 8 teams in the tournament. This is what you've been waiting for. This is what we wanted to fucking see. Let's talk about Carson's team. So this was a team that going into the tournament, I do think you had to respect. Firstly, we saw Joe UX9 use this team in an online tournament. I don't remember his placement, like top 8. I think it was top 8. Did really well with it. Either way, very good team. Then Pato, the Italian player, takes the team and does it really well in an online tournament, like top 8 again. But then he top 8s the European tournament that we just had with the same 6. So Carson and his buddies decided to work on this team and bring it to the regional. So that's pretty cool. I mean, it's a Groudon team, right? Groudon in the year 2025. Groudon is a Pokemon that has not been doing well. I do think it is good. I think Groudon is a cool, good Pokemon. He does have to hit his moves. This team is about hitting your moves, right? But hitting your moves makes it broken, right? Precipice Blade's a base 120 power ground moves absurd. There's not many flying Pokemon or levitators right now Most of the Pokemon in the game just have to eat this, right? You can't intimidate him. You can't grassy terrain it. You have to eat the Precipice Blades. It goes fucking hard, right? But then there's also this annoying ass motherfucker Jumpluff, who if it's hitting Sleep Cutters on you, there's not much you can really do, right? Like you have to take the sleep. This thing's moving first. You have Groudon to set it up. It seems like a hard pair of Pokemon to deal with, right? And then obviously you're powering up Hearthflame here, and this guy can hit like a fucking truck. Terrafire in the Sun is it approaches because you get a boost because of the Terra. You get your boost from the mask. It does approach like Surging Strike levels of insanity, right? You're doing fucking insane damage. It has a high crit ratio. It's nuts. These three together are crazy. You add Raging Bolt. This Pokemon is a tank already, but then now you're giving him a Photosynthesis boost, so he gets like a free Life Orb. The whole time he's playing, he's like, yeah, I'll take a Life Orb because the sun's up. Chill by him, right? So he's doing fucking damage. He's impossible to kill. You're pairing it with these like huge damage dealers. This guy's fucking annoying. And then you have a Darker Shifu who's always a pain in the ass. He's slamming you with wicked blows. And again, this is just like a really, really aggressive team. And I mean, obviously it's got to hit its moves with these two, but obviously these guys are all pretty accurate. You got Draco Meteor and like Thunder or Electro Web. But for the most part, you have a pretty accurate team. But like if you are hitting your Sleep Powders, you are playing well. It lets a good player be good. And then Incinerate. I'm not even going to talk about him. He's broken as fuck. He's good on this team, right? He's one of his weaknesses is removed because you have the sun up. He helps with Ice Rider. He sets up Will-O-Wisp. But yeah, I think it's a really good team. Yeah, because I mean, a lot of the Ice Riders are dropping fire nowadays too. And if they are Terrafire Ice Rider, then this guy gets to slam them with Precipice Blades. Like, it's just so nasty. Like, you just get to lead these two potentially to Ice Rider and just press Ivy Gudgel Precipice Blades. Like, what are you doing? How do you stop that? Dude, Ice Rider's cooked. You have decent Shadow Rider answers. Obviously, playing into Miraidon's pretty sick. You can eat a Draco, which isn't fun. But for the most part, playing into Miraidon's pretty cool with Groudon as well. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's a really good Groudon team. I think Groudon has a lot of, like, flexibility. I do think Miraidon... So, there's actually... What we're going to see here is there's no Miraidon in top 8. And I do think that's one of the best parts about using Groudon. But there's no Miraidon right now. And it's still doing well, right? Like, there wasn't too many Miraidons in the tournament, and Carson still killed it. So, obviously, yeah, Groudon's good even when there's no Miraidon. The Pokemon is just good. Next up here is William Brown's team. So, this team is, I don't know if the dude built it, but the crazy guy who started ranting on the thing and got banned, he actually used this team, I believe, or something very similar to it. But it's basically just a hard Trick Room team. So you set up Trick Room with this guy, you can fake out, you can follow me, you have a Sash, you can live a Surging Strikes from Urshifu, and then you press Decorate, and you just kill everything. You have this in DD, so you can like really get up Trick Room if you just lead these two. And you also can lead this guy and press Follow Me Trick Room, right? Like, it's just painful to deal with. This guy's annoying as fucking Trick Room and out of Trick Room. He's just doing mad damage with Choice Banded Wicked Blows. And then this guy is also fucking annoying in Trick Room. Especially, again, you probably can decorate both Blood Moon and Calyrex. I'm assuming this thing is like min speed and these guys outspeed it by 1. And yeah, so it's just like, this is a hard Trick Room team. It's pressing Trick Room every single game, and it's doing fucking damage. And obviously, William here was able to pilot it and do really well because it is just like hard to deal with. Some teams don't respect this type of team. And so they're like, fuck it, I'm not going to play hard Trick Room. It's not going to get me. And then it does. And then William went nuts. So, yep, pretty good team. Next up, we have Tanner Mann's team. So this team is pretty sick. So, shout out to Tanner for this amazing finish. Congrats, dude. Congrats. But this team is pretty sick because it's kind of a weird take on Ice Rider. A lot of the teams we're seeing here are like really not meta teams, right? Like the last team that I would say like, I mean, obviously they're not too crazy or too far off, but like this Shane's team is like the really boring meta team that we've seen before. Same with Connor's, but everything else is pretty original here. There's no like overlap or crazy, like the European teams had a lot of the same teams in the top. This one is like, man, people just came out and stuck to their guns, right? I guess this was a team that we knew of, but again, that dude got DQ'd, so we didn't see much of that team. But yeah, Tanner's team is also like a pretty unique take on Ice Rider, specifically with the Chien Pao. Like, I remember actually talking, so this is, I believe, Zomog's team. So I talked to Zomog about it. Shoutouts to my coach in NBA. But Zomog said that what's really sick is that you get to pair Ice Rider with Sword of Rune. So like, this guy's doing insane damage with Glacial Lance. And you have this guy, he just needs to be on the field. Trick Room can be up. He can be spamming Sucker Punches. He doesn't care. He's spamming Sucker Punch and Glacial Lance in Trick Room. You're sweeping everybody, right? it's a free life orb, right? It's 30% or whatever. I think it's roughly a life orb. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm stupid. But either way, it's like a life orb. So you just get a free life orb on your Calyrex. He's messing with everyone's calcs. You also can run him bulky if you want, because now you have a little extra damage. And he's just doing fucking crazy damage. It's snowballing, right? And then you have this, obviously I talked about this before, you got the Bolt Beam coverage. You have a Moongus, who pairs incredibly well, sets up Trick Room. Farigiraf to help with Shadow Rider. And then Urshifu, because Urshifu's broken. You also get this cool Chienpo Urshifu interaction. You can just lead these two or just put pressure on with them. And then you have the Farigiraf that can switch in and block like Thunderclap or Fake Out on your Urshifu, which is pretty sick. But yeah, I think it's just a really good, well-balanced team here. I think it's sick. I think the double ice types is funny. Like, it's just cool. It's just a cool take on Calyrex Ice. Next up is Luca Pass. So I would say this is like, at this point, this is Luca's signature shit. This team is not something new. I don't actually know who originated with this team, but this has been a team that's been a thing for a while. This is like, I would say, the Koraidon blueprint, right? Like, it has all the good pieces. I actually really think this team is sick. I love this team. It's so fun to play. But basically, the team is built around Koraidon plus Fluttermane here. And you're going to notice that this thing has booster energy, which is kind of crazy, but I think it's really important how the team plays. It allows you to, when your sun gets taken away, you now are fast, and you can reset up the sun with Sunny Day, which is pretty sick. But it also makes it so you don't have to lead Koraidon all the time. You can lead like Fluttermane Chi-Yu, Fluttermane Ogerpon, Fluttermane fucking Ditto if you wanted to, right? It just makes it so that it's not reliant on Sun, which I think is really cool on a Koraidon team, because you're like, why do you need boost energy? You have fucking Sun. Are you stupid? No, it's actually pretty smart. This is your speed control bot though. Icy Wind Moonblast, pretty good shit. Compare it with Chi-Yu. Obviously, all the Pokemon on this team, outside of Ditto, and I guess Ogerpon, but they all appreciate the sun, right? Like Chi-Yu, he fucking loves the sun. He loves to fire off. He's a fish that loves the sun. He likes to fire off overheats, likes to fire off heat waves. And then we've got Fluttermane, who enjoys the sun. Raging Bolt, we've talked about him. He loves the bulk from his Assault Vest, and he also loves the free life orb from the sun. And then Koraidon loves the sun because it gives him Orichalcum Pulse or whatever. So now he's got his attack is boosted by a life orb, and he also has fire moves, and he has Terra Fire, so he loves the sun. So it's just like kind of a really, really annoying team to deal with. And you'll also notice here, we've got Cornerstone, who's really obnoxious, right? He's paired in there. He's dealing big damage with Power Up, Ivy Cudgel, but he also has a Focus Sash. And also, Ditto has a Focus Sash. So you get to, well, he has Sturdy. He doesn't actually have a Focus Sash. I know you guys are about to start correcting me, but yes, he has Sturdy. So he's starting to do big fucking damage, and he doesn't die. This guy doesn't die because he's got a Sash. This guy's so good into Ice Rider too. He's good into Shadow Rider. Sash Ditto is just sick. This guy's awesome. And then, yeah, it's just like a good team. And I feel like all the pieces are incredibly flexible. You can basically lead, like, I feel like any Pokemon with Follow Me Sturdy Guy is broken. Any Raging Bolt plus Chi-Yu is amazing. Raging Bolt plus Flutter is probably good. Koraidon Raging Bolt's good. You could just lead, like, anything together. And the team is just so flexible. So I feel like your game plans are always evolving, always changing. Your Pokemon are surprisingly really hard to kill because you have Bulk on Chi-Yu. Koraidon's naturally bulky. You have Bulk on Flutter. You got 2 Sash guys. So for the most part, you're a pretty bulky team, but you're also doing mad fucking damage because you have the Sun, you got Chi-Yu. It's a sick team. I like this team a lot. If you're interested in Koraidon, I would start here always. I think this team's awesome. But yeah, so that's our top 4, I believe, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, that's our top 8. That's our top 8. So yeah. So then the next 4 teams are the best teams in the tournament. But yeah, congrats to Luca. Like, Luca's been piloting this team at Worlds. He almost won one of the, I think he almost won one of the online tournaments. This is like his shit, and it's kind of cool to see him pop off so hard here. Next up is Andrew here with Koraidon as well. Koraidon, woo! I do love Koraidon. But this one's very different from Luca's team. Well, kind of. It's still got these 4 Pokemon. But this guy's loaded dice, which is fucking crazy. I very rarely see that. With no Flame Charge, but you don't need Flame Charge when you got Scale Shot. So, I don't know, like, necessarily why it's Scale Shot. Because, like, Flame Charge and Scale Shot are doing 2 things. This thing is breaking through Sashes. It's probably really good into, like, Ogerpon Rock, maybe. But yeah, I'm not fully sure, like, if... like, Clear Amulet's just a little better. I mean, if there's no Incineroar, a Skill Shot's going to do more damage, but you are going to lower your defense. I don't know. I don't know about this one. Clearly it worked well, so... yeah, I don't know. You can't be mad. But, yeah, it's an interesting one. We got Umbreon. I think Umbreon's pretty cool. like obviously in Sun, Umbreon is like the classic. Like Umbreon plus Sun is broken, right? Moonlight, it heals for 100%. It becomes unkillable. It's got safety goggles. This seems to be the like I don't know if they super need the matchup into Ice Rider, but they have it, right? They've got themselves a Umbreon and an Entei and a Cornerstone here. But either way, you can taunt it, you can foul play it. It's really obnoxious. It's okay into Shadow Rider. Shadow Rider Umbreon is weird to me because like they just can Terra. You just force Terra, and then Umbreon's doing no damage. But having Yawn is pretty sick and taunt. So like he is unkillable. He can't be faked out because they're in focus. Cool Pokemon overall. Cool to see Umbreon like pop off at the regional. Raging Bolt again in the Sun. I've talked about him. Bulky, strong. You know the drill. This one's actually Sash Fluttermane, which is kind of cool. Like, obviously, Luca had the booster energy. That was sick. Sick in its own right. Very cool. But I think Sash is really sick as well because it makes it so Fluttermane is really fucking annoying. You have to hit this guy twice, and you're most likely setting up Sun most of the time. So now Urshifu can't even deal with Fluttermane either, which is really, really obnoxious. Because obviously Surging Strikes isn't going to kill it in the Sun. So now this guy's annoying. It's a pain in the ass. It doesn't die. It's super fast because of this. And it's dealing fucking crazy damage with Dazzling Gleam Moonblast. And it still has speed control. Sash Fluttermane is sick on Sun. Now you have double Sash, right? You can just lead these two and you just can't be killed. This guy's dealing insane damage. Once again, Power Whip, Ivy Cudgel. He's annoying as fuck. He presses Follow Me for your important guys. He doesn't die. The Banded Entei is crazy as well. Very cool Pokemon here. Yeah, I mean, it's your fire type here, so which is like kind of wild. You have Koraidon, who's kind of a fire type, but this guy, he's dealing mad damage. I can't even imagine a Choice Band Sacred Fire in the Sun. Holy fuck, that's gonna hurt. Definitely the Shadow Rider matchup here as well. Extreme Speed sick because you're Terra Normal, and then you have Stomping Stone Edge, and you can't be faked out. So yeah, I guess it's just the Shadow Rider matchup, Ice Rider matchup, Shadow Rider matchup for a good Pokemon. And next up is Dewey's team. So Dewey's been kind of killing it this year, going pretty nuts. And we've got ourselves a Dozo Ting Lu. So this combo is just super frustrating to deal with. They have incredibly high defensive bulk as it is, right? Like their defense bar is like really fucking huge. Their special defense is not great, but Vessel of Ruin lowers special defense. So it lowers special attacks. So now these guys become like super fucking bulky. They just yawn you and set up Stealth Rocks, and then sometimes they Sand Tomb you on you, so you're trapped in and you go to sleep. They're just fucking annoying. These guys are obnoxious as fuck. Like, genuinely unfun to play against, but they're good. And the idea here, I think, is mostly that you have Dozo Ting Lu, you're spamming Yawn, and sometimes Fissure. You're spamming Yawn, you're setting up Stealth Rocks, you're pressing Sand Tomb, you're pressing Ruination. Everything's getting chipped really low, right? Everything's taking damage. And then you bring in Calyrex Shadow Rider, you deal insane damage, you smack them around with the Shadow Rider, paired with potentially Tailwind Whimsicott if you need it, or Follow Me if you need it, or just fucking Urshifu if you want him. But yeah, so the idea I think is pretty simple. You get everything really low with these two, and then you just bring this guy in and you just start sweeping. It's actually Substitute too, which is pretty fucking crazy, right? Like, I feel like Substitute, like usually it's nasty plot, but I think the idea here is just to like, get everything low and start sweeping. So you have multiple sweepers in the back that you can do with that. Or if you don't want to bring these two, you're just kind of an offensive, hyper offense team, right? You have Tailwind, and you have Tailwind, and you just lead like a Shifu. You start blasting chunks of holes in your enemy's team, and then you just start sweeping with this guy, and you just go crazy. Or you just make holes with this guy. You Terrafire and deal a ton of damage with Tailwind, and then you just start sweeping, right? Like it's a pretty simple team, but it gives a lot of options that are really frustrating to deal with. Like dealing with these two is really hard in and of its own right, and then also maybe your answer to these two is not good into just Shadow Rider Ogerpon or Shadow Rider Urshifu. It just gives the team a lot of depth, and it allows you to just like, it's really hard to deal with in team preview. Zach Trokamp, he's a very good player, very old player as well. He's played for a while. He actually brought this team to Worlds and made day 2 with it. Or not this team, but he brought Ting Lu Dozo Shadow Rider Worlds, and I actually talked to him about it. And it sounded super fucking annoying. And he told me that these two just carried. Like, they were just so good because, like, Ice Rider can't deal with them. Like, because obviously you just Terra Fairy. Shadow Rider just hated them too. Like, they're just good into so much shit. And you just get to hard carry games because your Ting Lu's unkillable. And so is your Dozo. But yeah, I think it's a cool team. I think it's probably not too hard to pick up and learn, but it's obviously Dewey went super deep. They're a very talented player. Terran almost crazy. But yeah, I think it's a cool team. Yeah, it's a weird one. It's a weird one. It's definitely very different. Dragon's crazy. But yeah, I don't really know. I don't really know much to say about that one. It's a cool team. But now, it is time for the crowning jewel. The Shilang Justin Tang team. It placed first and second. The best team in the tournament. I think the last time we had a double mirror finals was in 2019, where Ashton Cox played Jeremy Rodriguez, and they had the same 6 Pokemon. They were using Lunala Zern. But yeah, they had the same team, and they played in finals, which is pretty sick. No, we'll click on the champions team, but yeah, it's the same team. They basically just made like a really cool Ice Rider team, right? Like, I think this team is less, it has Trick Room, but I think this team is way less about pressing Trick Room and more just about creating favorable damage trades, sweeping with Calyrex. You have Tailwind, so like Calyrex can actually become kind of fast and outspeed some important Pokemon like Rillaboom, like Incineroar. You're able to just start spamming like Tailwind plus Calyrex. Landorus plus Roaring Moon goes pretty hard as well, and then you still have this broken Amoonguss. You have a Trick Room mode if you want it, but for the most part, you're probably just going to be pressing this weird Tailwind mode or this like kind of balancey like Amoonguss or Shifu Calyrex Ogerpon mode. It's just a really sick team. It just kind of seems like there's no fake out. There's like mostly just damage here, but this team was broken. It performed incredibly well. When Justin posts the rental code and the paste, I'll make sure to link it down in the description below. But yeah, this team is just, it's nuts. It was a really cool team to see do well. Mystic Water Shifu is pretty cool, considering there's no Sash, right? Yeah. Mystic Water for more damage, Terra Water. Taunt's really neat. Roaring Moon is like bizarre. It's weird as shit, but it's there. It's really good in the Shadow Rider, but also it seemed like throughout the tournament they're just using it to press Tailwind, and it was just showing up in a lot of matchups. It could just be really annoying. Amoonguss, classic Amoonguss. Opting for Pollen Puff, Spore, Rage Powder. Just a good Pokemon. Covert Cloak is sick. Obviously, you can't be faked out in Trick Room. And you can't be faked out in general, so like this guy can always get his Spores off. Covert Cloak is just a good anti-hacks item. It's just a good item on Amoonguss. It's pretty cool. Life for Blanders, nothing too crazy. Just pretty standard moveset, just dealing big fucking damage. Ice Rider with Terra Fairy is pretty neat. It's very good into Zamazenta. But specifically, it's also just like, it's just good into Chi-Yu too, Flutter. I feel like Terra Fairy has become kind of the more popular one. At the moment, I feel like Fire just isn't as popular as it was. Obviously, a little worse into Enemy Ice Rider, but you take the payoffs. Yeah, just a standard moveset. Like this is the standard set. There's nothing too crazy here. And then Ogerpon Hearthflame. Hornleech is a little weird, but other than that, pretty standard. I just think like these 6 Pokemon together, it's just kind of a crazy pick. Like Roaring Moon being one of the Pokemon that you picked is wild. But I really do like it. I think you have a matchup in everything. Shadow Rider, you have Roaring Moon, you have this guy to help with Zam. You also have this Terra Fairy. Kyogre stuff, you have Urshifu, you have Hearthflame, both very good, and Ice Rider to a degree. Yeah, you're just using like some of the best Pokemon in the game, in probably Amoonguss, Calyrex, Ogerpon, or Shifu. And then you're also just slamming on like 2 really good matchup mons that are also just good in general and can be played well into, like obviously this is really good in Koraidon, but that's not the only use for Landorus. It showed up in the finals. It can show up in any matchup. Just spamming Earth Power and Sludge Bomb is good. This Pokemon is good. So yeah, it was cool. Like I'm a big, well, okay, like TSL Tang, like come on, that guy's the GOAT. He's sick. His teams are always so nasty. I love watching him play. I love seeing his teams. So seeing him do well is awesome. And then Justin Tang, how can you not be a Justin Tang fan? I think he's great for the game. He's really fun to watch. He's very emotional. He's very like, he wants to fucking win and you can feel it. It's hard not to root for the guy. So it's so sick to see Justin get his 3rd regional win. It's been a while, but it's finally time. He's a 3-time regional champion, which is sick. That's very rare. I think like there's a lot of 2-time regional champions, myself included, but 3-time, there's a huge fall off. Like being a 3-time regional champion, especially, not only is he a 3-time regional champion, he's a 3-time regional champion in the modern day. What a fucking beast. Congrats to Justin. I think this team is sick. It's really sick to see 2 friends played out in the finals like that. That's like the dream right there. So it was really awesome to see them play the finals. But yeah, I think this is a really cool team. Again, I'll link down whenever they make the post, which I assume might even be before this video goes live. Yeah, I'll link that down below so you guys can test this team out for yourself. But yeah, this team's sick. Congrats to both TSL Tang and Justin for doing so well. It was a pretty sick tournament. I think like after the European tournament, I was like, fuck, dude, this meta is about to be boring as shit. This is going to be brutal. But honestly, this one gave me some hope. This one gave me some life into this format. So I'm excited to see where it goes. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Congrats to Justin for winning the entire thing. 3-time regional champion Justin Tang. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time.